Good Tuesday morning, everyone. Thanks so much for joining me here on Wave Now. I'm Myra Ansari. We are going live to the Van Hoos Education Center, where a couple of folks are going to be honored today for the JCPS Equity Hall of Fame. There's going to be a banner that's going to be released. This is a ceremony that honors several folks: Diane Porter, Sadiqa Reynolds, Ricky Jones Jr., and Reverend F. Bruce Williams, Raoul Cunningham, Roger Cleveland, and Bonnie Marshall. Let's jump into this press conference, and I hope you all enjoy it.
My job as a greeter at church.
All right, good morning, everybody, and thank you for being here for this wonderful ceremony that represents some of the champions of children in our community. I think some of this recognition is long overdue. Although we did have a ceremony last spring, we are really excited to be able to publicly display the banners on our building of our first Equity Hall of Fame. First and foremost, I want to thank our Diversity, Equity, and Poverty Department for their tireless work to supporting our neediest kids in our community. If you are a part of DEP, please stand up. Thank you so much to you all for your tireless work to ensure that we have the kids are successful in our community. Specifically, those our Black students are successful. We want all of our students to be successful, but we've really had a focus in this district on reducing and eliminating the achievement gap. And I think nothing says that more than the champions that we are about to recognize today in this first class of the Equity Hall of Fame. They deserve to be celebrated for their tireless work on behalf of really the city of Louisville. That's what this is. This is tireless work for the city of Louisville, because I do believe this. Education is the foundation of the success of our future community. Without that, we will not be successful. And all of these people, these champions that are being inducted into this Hall of Fame, have worked so hard and continue to work hard for the citizens of Louisville, but specifically the children of Louisville. And I can't thank you enough for your work. I've been able to work with each and every one of these great champions in trying to move forward JCPS and specifically our students. I'm also very proud that JCPS has leaned into equity work as being one of our 3 pillars in JCPS. Over the past several years, we'll continue to do that. We'll continue to work hard to make sure that and it really is, I want to say this, it is about student outcomes, eliminating and reducing that achievement gap so that our kids can be successful. We've had some real celebrations and still have a long way to go, and all of these champions are a big part of that. Today's event also gives me another chance to recognize contributions of one of our specific honorees. They're all wonderful champions of these students, but I do want to take a second to recognize Miss Diane Porter. So I have to say that, I'm coming towards the end of my career, but Ms. Porter has been a part of my career for a long time. She goes back before me, but, that I knew Ms. Porter when she was the Director of Career and Technical Education here at Van Hoos, because I had such a passion in the schools that I worked with for career and technical education. But her career goes well beyond that. I mean, the amount of students and staff that she has impacted in her years in JCPS is really immeasurable. I mean, I don't even know if we could measure the amount of students that she's had an impact on, the JCPS and kids throughout this community. We know she's a former teacher and administrator. She's most well known for her work as a Board of Education member and the chair of the Board of Education. I have to say, working with her, there is no one I have ever seen who has been more of a fierce advocate for kids in District 1, all kids, I want to say that, but specifically for kids in District 1 in West Louisville, and has never been shy about letting me know and advocating for those students. I always knew that, and very proud of being able to stand beside her in the work throughout our time and her time as chair of the Board of Education. So Ms. Porter, throughout the years, I know you've been on the front line and you have been defending kids in this community for many, many years. And so first of all, I want to say once again, congratulations to Ms. Porter for being inducted into this Hall of Fame. And as I finish up, congratulations to all 7 members of the first class of the JCPS Equity Hall of Fame. So proud of your work, proud to stand next to you in this work to champion for kids. It's tough, hard work, and we need more than just the school district and the schools alone. We need the community standing behind us in this work, and that is clearly what these 7 Hall of Fame members did. We appreciate your work, your dedication, and your advocacy for our students and families. Thank you so much. It's now my honor to introduce our Chief Equity Officer, Dr. John Marshall.
Good afternoon, family. This is a very important day in the fact that we are recognizing Hall of Famers. At the Educators of Color program, we recognized them and gave them banners, but we also thought it was very important to make sure we memorialize them even more and call them in to do a press conference so the whole world in the city of Louisville can see. If you can bear with me, I'm going to revisit some of the things I said at the celebration. These distinguished leaders are without a doubt top tier. It is because of them that Kentucky, Louisville, and Jefferson County Public Schools are better than what it would be. You cannot think of a better inaugural class for Jefferson County Public Schools Equity Hall of Fame. These are titans in the field of everything they do, unapologetically sacrificing time, health, money, job opportunities, and favor for some. Were it not for these people, there would be no equity scorecard. There would be no Du Bois Academy. There would be no Grace James Academy. There would be no changes in the student code of conduct, the disproportionality suspensions of students of color. There would be no place for students in Smoketown area to get tutoring. The attention to teaching with accuracy and honesty on the contributions of people of color is the people up here are responsible for a lot of that work. The stopping of some of the bills to upend the work that Jefferson County will continue to do is because of people up here. The teacher recruitment and unapologetically saying we need teachers of color in front of our students is because of people up here. This group has hosted over 80 JCPS events combined. Combined, they have written over 20 articles on behalf of JCPS. They have done over 300 visits, well over 300 visits to schools, and they have spent as much time in the boardroom just about as I have, because they come when I call them. To be even clearer, there is no tomorrow to continue to fight for equity, were it not for what they did yesterday and the day before, and I want to repeat that. There is no tomorrow for what equity is what's going to happen to JCPS, were it not for what they have done yesterday. When we tend to forget that that they have impacted or changed the game on how it was played. These people are archived in JCPS ledgers. These people are quoted in national newspapers supporting students. In the book, if it was to be written, Mr. Ralph Cunningham repeatedly demonstrated that the NAACP only supports justice. Dr. Ricky Jones told the board, curriculum is now something that we must always make sure is a complex thing and lifts up everybody and gives no student an inferiority complex. Ms. Sadiqa Reynolds told elected officials, you can be scared, but you can't be wrong when it comes to my children. You need to do what's right for all of my children. Dr. F. Bruce Williams' pulpit is passionate, purposeful, powerful, positively political, and pedagogical. He told the board, enough has been said and more needs to be done for Black students. We expect a unanimous vote for the Du Bois Academy and the continuation of the racial equity policy. Dr. Roger Cleveland, who cannot be here because he is actually a character witness for equity at another district, has given more hours of training to JCPS than any other person in the history of DEP. Dr. Bonnie Marshall, my mom, has put more Black teachers in classrooms than any other teacher developer in the history of Jefferson County Public Schools. And then we call her Mother Chair. Ms. Porter must be quoted as saying, unless you know my people and my district, shut your mouth. Y'all, she said that in that chair right there. And she said it plenty of times, and she will still say it today if we let her. So here's the inaugural class of this equity group. I want to just real quick, and I want to take a couple seconds. I want to tell you all, when we say what is JCPS doing, I will tell you, equity scorecard, Grace James, Du Bois, Louisville Teacher Residency, Racial Equity Policy, Diversity, Equity, and Poverty Department, we have 3 top-tier schools that are leading the nation. Still have historically Black high school in Central, conditionally hired teachers of color, and mandatory implicit bias training are some of the things that this group and this district is doing. I will reiterate, and then I will hand it over to our first speaker, Dr. Ricky Jones. This is without a doubt a top-tier group of Hall of Famers that will continue to do the work and should motivate us all to continue to push forward. First, we will hear from Dr. Ricky Jones.
Look at this room. I feel like I'm home in Atlanta. Really interesting that you have this group of Black people being honored and mostly Black people show up. That should tell you something about the very real divide in the city of Louisville and the state of Kentucky. I only have a couple of minutes, so let me spend them not talking about me, but talking about what you and your children are facing. 35 or so years ago, when I transferred to Morehouse College from the U.S. Naval Academy, I was told I wasn't going to be allowed to graduate because the chair of the history department, Dr. Alton Hornsby Jr., who was also a Morehouse man, said he wasn't going to take my history credit from the Naval Academy. And I went and met with him to ask why, because I just wanted to graduate. I wasn't worried about curriculum at that time. And he said to me, schools like the one you're coming from have spent their history trying to keep our people out. And the few they let in, they miseducate so badly that they're basically useless to our people. I cannot allow you to leave here in that condition. This is what John Marshall has been about, our dear brother, in the work that he's done over the years about equality and equity. You can call it what you want to, belonging, DEI, affirmative action, whatever, it doesn't matter to me. But what it really boils down to is this is about race. Yes. And nobody wants to say it's about race. And it is specifically about Black men, women, and children. The greatest threat you face right now is white supremacy, which is in disguise as the anti-DEI movement in this state. That's what it is. And so when you see people attack our dear brother John Marshall, like last week, you understand what they're doing. Let me call their names for the press. State Reps Gerard Bowman, Kevin Bratcher, Emily Calloway, Ken Fleming, John Hoxton, and Susan Tyler Whitten. State Senators Julie Rock Adams, Lindsey Tishner, Matthew Deenan, Michael and Jason Nemes, Adrian Southworth, and Senator-elect Aaron Reed. These are white supremacists. And when I talk about white supremacists, I'm talking about people who feel that because of their race, they are the only ones who have the right to think, know, and decide. To think about what the problems are, to know what the proper solutions are, and to decide what is going to be done. Black people have known for a very long time how important education is in this country. That's why we fought for it since the 1800s. And people who dislike and even despise Black people know how important education is. That's why they have continuously worked to keep us out of it. I'm encouraging you, as these legislators and others will return to attack you and your children with anti-DEI legislation, which is really the maintenance of white supremacy legislation in this state at this time in the 21st century. You better fight back. Yeah. You better be just as mean as they are. You better not negotiate with them in the same way they refuse to negotiate with you. You better be brave enough for your children's sake to call their names and not let your children leave here in that condition. Because when you talk about access to education, it's not just education. They are trying to destroy Black children's possibilities. Right. That's what it's really about. And I've told John Marshall not to call me again. Because for years, the man has disturbed me in his fight, as well as the other people on this it's an esteemed dais who've done work all the way across the board. I love them. I respect them. They all love and respect you. Love and respect yourselves and your children enough to fight for those children just as hard as they do. It's been too much of my time, but please, please, please understand who the enemies of progress are and have the heart to beat them back. Thank you, John. Thank you, Marty. Thank everybody else up here. And thank you, all of you beautiful Black folk and our white friends this morning for coming out and joining us in this struggle.
I have never cared about who I went after ever in my life, but that is hard to follow. First of all, I would just like to thank you, Dr. Marshall, for your commitment to our children, for all of the work that you have done, for the fights that you have had publicly and privately. Dr. Polio, I want to thank you as well. I know that it has not been easy. Certainly when I led the Urban League, we were a partner to you, and we certainly levied our share of critique. Everybody wants perfection for their children. It never meant that we didn't see you fighting. It never meant that we have not seen JCPS teachers and educators and administrators fighting. We've just always wanted more, and we still want more. And I think everybody who has shown up here today wants that and will continue to. I do think it is worth noting who is not here. I do think it is worth noting that we have Kentucky Senate members who would call out Dr. Marshall and call for his resignation. I do think it is worth noting that where they don't necessarily align on everything else, they certainly do align when it comes to attacking us and attacking our people. And I think that we are only at the beginning of that. And I can only reiterate what Dr. Jones has said, in that we will have to stand and fight. We do have to be prepared to do something, and we may lose some things and some bodies, and we must be willing to do that. Time has really been rolled back on us. It is interesting to me that today we would be here celebrating equity. And I hope that people understand, because they will find these speeches and these words and our names in history somewhere. And I believe these banners will go up and they will be taken down very quickly. I don't think that we will last so long on any wall in this institution or anywhere in this state, quite frankly. But someday someone will find them, and I hope that they will tell the truth about what we meant by equity. I hope that they will say that we fought not just for Black children, but we said that when we fight for Black children and when we take care of Black children, that everybody really is taken care of, that we always believed that there was space for everybody to be the best version of themselves, that we never wanted to just teach about who enslaved us or that we were enslaved, but we wanted to talk about what else we had done. We also wanted to talk about those who stood with us at every step of the way across history. We always meant to be inclusive of everyone. We always wanted our children to be able to learn everything, and we still do. But I'm afraid that right now in Kentucky and in this country, legislators are empowered in ways that they have never been. And I say to you, not only do you have to pay attention to education and educators and curriculum and all those things, but the other part of this is that you have a teachers association that endorses candidates that don't mean our children any good. I was the president of the Urban League when the JCTA decided to endorse Jason Nemus. I was the president of the Louisville Urban League where Fairness came out and endorsed him as well. They endorsed him over an openly gay white woman, and they did that because of two things. One was conversion therapy, and the other was about retirement. Black people really have no permanent allies because it was that endorsement that broke the Urban League, Fairness, and JCTA apart. That is really a vote where we did not align. And I want people to know that. I want history to understand that some of the people that we have called allies are culpable, that there's also blood on their hands. So whatever happens to me, and I'm sure that something will, I hope that when they find the words that I have said, that people will say that I always spoke truth and I was willing to risk everything for it, because I think it is that necessary. I do think that the world can change and the world will change, but I don't think it's going to happen now. But I encourage you to be brave, to be strong, to think about what our ancestors have suffered through, and to remember that there are people who are always fighting and praying and fighting and praying and starting over again. And so remember everyone. When we're talking about equity, we are not just talking about Black students. We are talking about making America the country that she has always promised us that she would be. And that means we figure out how to make the pie bigger. That's not about closing our borders. That's not about telling kids that they don't get to be LGBTQIA. That is not about us telling Black kids that they are less than. It is about telling each of us that we have the opportunity to be the best version of ourselves. And so I want to thank you, Dr. Marshall, for everything that you have sacrificed. He is not a perfect man. None of us are perfect people. That is not required. What is required is that when they come to your door, you answer the door and you fight. I am begging you to fight like never before. Everything we have is on the line. And these legislators have made it crystal clear that they certainly do not care about our children. But you know what? We see their humanity and we still care about theirs, their children. We still care. And that is the difference between us. We still care about their children because we understand that if their children are educated in a way that explains an accurate history of this country, and our children are educated in a way that gives an accurate history of this country, then this world will be better. And that's all we've ever really wanted. And so shame on them for not wanting that for their own. Thank you so very much for including me in this very, very powerful class. I am honored. Everybody here is a rock star, and especially, I have to say, Dr. Porter, who also served on the board of the Urban League when I was there as president. Diane Porter, I just want to say this to you. All of us have given a lot of things, but what you have given to this district, and I don't want to make you emotional, but I want to say out loud what I've never heard anybody say. Even your child was here in this district serving when she lost her life. You have given everything a woman, a mother could give. And we owe you. We owe you everything. And we promise you, we will fight. Thank you so much.
Good morning. I want to join everyone who's already spoken in saying thank you for showing up. And I do think it's telling, I agree, that it is telling who is here and who is not. And we want everyone to know that we see you. We see you who are here, and we also see you who are not. I want to begin by just saying thank you for adding my name to the list of these just extraordinary leaders and the champions for equity and justice. I am honored to be a part of that list of people. So thank you very much. I do want to say thank you again to Dr. Marshall for your courageous leadership. I know you're under attack, but that just means you must be doing something right. And we want you to know that they may be focusing on you, but they have a whole lot of other people they have to deal with as well. So you're not by yourself. I do also want to join by thanking Dr. Porter for her leadership and all of the sacrifices she has made. She's become a very close and dear friend of mine. We talk a lot about a lot. And in the Black church, she would have the title mother. And so they accurately refer to you as mother because you are Mother Porter to us, and not just to JCPS, but to Kentucky. So thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Polio, as well. I want to thank you for your receptivity to the things that we have pushed for and discussed. As a leader, I know it's not easy to be one. And so it can be difficult, and there's a whole host of misunderstandings and the like. I've had my share of times where I have supported you and critiqued you, but it wasn't personal. It was for the sake of the people, for the sake of the children. And so I want to just thank you for your leadership as well, and your consistency. And I don't want to, before I get to my other comments, and I won't be long, but I don't want to move to those comments without saying something about our present chairperson of JCPS, Reverend Scholl, who has taken the baton from a great leader and has been extraordinary in his leadership as well, and has been level-headed. He has been level-headed and courageous. You don't know what goes on behind the scenes, but to be such a young man, to be so wise and so courageous, speaks well of him. And so we want you to know that we support your leadership as well, that you are not by yourself. I do want to acknowledge that my wife is here, and I do want to acknowledge that. And the reason why I want to acknowledge that is because I wouldn't be able to do what I do if I didn't have a very patient and loving wife who has to put up with me and what I do. So I thank you, Michelle. I thank you publicly for just being so supportive and so kind. And I do have one of the reasons why I do what I do, and I'm free to do it, is because I also have a community of faith who are just as committed to a whole host of things, but one of which is justice and equity in this community and in this state. Sadiq happens to be one of those members, but there's a whole bunch of them here, I think. Just wave at me if you're a member of Base Memorial. Yeah, they're here, and staff people here as well. And they are one of the reasons why I have the opportunity and courage, and they are sprinkled all throughout the city, working hard to make sure that there's justice in the city and there's equity in JCPS. I appreciate all the comments that have been made. It isn't much for me to add to. I do want to say it's important that they've been very specific, name calling and calling racism and white supremacy what it is. I think that's important because you can't cast out the demon if you don't call the demon by name. And I think that we are in for a fight, and you do too, given recent developments. And someone has said that oppression is permanent. Well, so is resistance to oppression. And we want the forces of oppression to know that we're not going anywhere. We'll be right here fighting the good fight. My children have gone through JCPS, and I appreciate the experience that they had. My children are grown now. They're on their own now, grown and gone. Hallelujah. But so people ask me, why are you still fighting? Your children are not even in school anymore. All those children are mine. All of those children are ours. Not just black children, all of them are ours. But we emphasize black children because it appears that black children and people are often at the bottom of every category. And if we don't fight for them, people usually don't. And so we're here to fight for them. Because people will not fight for them if we don't. And so we want to let them know we are committed to them, their parents, and we're committed to JCPS because we believe that JCPS can become better. We're in a country that where black people work so hard to encourage it to live up to its highest ideals. And you've heard the expression, either you love it or you leave it. Dr. King says it's because we love it that we can't leave it the way it is. And it's hard to love a place that often doesn't love you back. And sometimes even in Louisville, Kentucky, it's hard to love a city that sometimes makes you feel like it doesn't love you back. But we're here for the long haul. And we are absolutely committed to the enhancement of this community and the school system and this city. And we believe, we're confident that it will be better. And I am encouraged, even by these who are being acknowledged today, and for those of you who have joined and taking the time to come out. I'm encouraged by your presence. We often have, as Sadiq was said, and then I'm finished, we often have allies who are culpable and often not permanent. You do have a handful that are, but often are not. But it's going to take more than black people to make this city the way it ought to be. Dr. King, and then I'm finished, says that he talks about that we are caught in an inescapable web of mutuality and tied in a single garment of destiny. So what affects one affects the other. I can't be what I ought to be if you're not what you ought to be. We believe that. We just hope that other people do. We're committed, and in spite of what has been done and what is being done to our leaders like Dr. Johnson, Dr. Marshall, and others, we're here for the fight, and we're going to fight the good fight because we believe that justice is on our side. Truth forever on the scaffold, wrong forever on the throne, yet the scaffold sways the future, and behind the dim unknown standeth God within the shadows, keeping watch above his own. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, and don't panic when you see me get up and down. I'm still here, okay? And that's God's grace, and because of God, I am here because my heart is still with education, and he has not removed that. So thank you for being here. Thank you for speaking up for our students. Thank you to our new chair, Dr. Corey Schull. I am proud to say what we are doing in JCPS, but I will also say the work is not over. Now, John wants me to speak for a couple of minutes, so let me talk really, really fast. But thank you. Thank everyone that steps up and speaks for education in Louisville, Kentucky. I have a background in the district, and that gave me a lot of knowledge, starting as a teacher at the Louisville Male High School. After graduating from Louisville Male High School, going to U of L, my first teaching assignment, I'm proud to say that the students that I taught at Male High School come up to me now. It happened Sunday when I was at Actors Theater. Young lady came up and said, "Hi, Ms. Porter, you were my accounting teacher at Male High School. I am blessed. Our children deserve to be blessed when they're in education. They want to know, they need to know that we care about them. We will open the door for them, and we will do everything that we possibly can." We have done a lot as a district. Thank you, Sadiqa, for mentioning my daughter. My family's not in this room, but they're in my heart, so you can't see them, and they are with me always. So thank you, everyone, for what we are doing. Dr. Martin Luther King said, education must be extended to all children, not some, but all. The work begins when we have to meet the needs of every child in the school district. I am honored to have worked for the district. My daughter graduated from Male High School, like her mother, and she went on to Bethune-Cookman College and came back to Louisville before it was all over with and had an opportunity to work with her father. So I am very proud of what we have done, but I will say to you, it's not over. And when people start talking ugly, that's okay. We can do better and we can talk better. And how we will know we have made progress is because of our children. I am very grateful to everybody for your prayers, for your calls, and it has helped me a mighty long way. But I think that it was time for me to slow down. I won't say step down, but slow down. But I will say to you, I will always speak for education in Louisville, Kentucky, for the students in the Jefferson County Public Schools. And I thank you for the work you do. And I thank God's grace, because I am here. Thank you so much for being here today.
Good morning. It's great to see all of you here today. I want to extend my congratulations to all of these honorees, to every individual who has been inducted into this Equity Hall of Fame. You all are absolutely incredible. And we are thankful for not only the work that you have done, but thank you for continuing the tradition of those who have come before you. There are people who served in this district and in the city like Miss Elmore, like Lincoln Cosby, like the Reverend C. Mackey Daniels. And these individuals took the baton from those people and really blazed a trail forward that ensured that all children in JCPS not only receives a quality education, but are seen as human beings entirely and comprehensively. And so I want to thank you for that work. I want to thank Dr. Marshall for leading this equity work. It has been a brutal 12 years for you. But we have Du Bois. We have Grace James.
Right.
We have the equity scorecard. We have the racial equity policy.
Right.
We have racial equity plans in every school in the district.
Right.
I want to thank you for your work, Dr. Marshall. And I also want to thank Dr. Polio for being brave enough to allow your tenure as superintendent to be marked by equity.
Right.
We know it was some very tense meetings, both public and private. But you've had the courage to allow the creation of things that would ensure that all children within this district have a sense of belonging. And so we've cut a lot of ribbons, and that's something to celebrate. We've made a lot of progress. That's something to celebrate. We're going to get this transportation thing right. I think we're about 5 drivers away, but that's testament to your perseverance, because that's access is so crucial to equity. If there is no access, there can be no equity. And so thank you for your courage. I want to say that I know there are people who, listening to this press conference, are offended and concerned because there are people in the world who intentionally misunderstand the definition of equity as being that which takes away from others. When we speak of equity, we want to create a place for all children. We want to ensure that every child has what they need. And so we're not going back. We're not going back because we've come too far to allow our children to be subjected to disproportionality again. We've come too far not to have cultural responsive curriculum again. We've come too far to turn a blind eye to the diversity of needs of children within this district. So we're not going back, regardless of the rhetoric that comes out of Frankfurt, regardless of the legislation that comes from Frankfurt or from Capitol Hill. We're not going back. We're going to keep the heat on, and we're going to continue to do the work that this district has been about. This is a majority minority district, and we don't ever need to forget that fact. And because we are a majority minority district, we're going to continue to center equity. We're going to continue to center racial equity. We're going to make sure that we continue to provide a diversity of programming and educational options to make sure that every child is able to live up to their potential. Thank you all for being here today, and we hope to see you again very soon.
We do have, they didn't know this, you all get to take those just in case they do tear the one down that we are unveiling in the back of the building. So there is an unveiling of these esteemed warriors in the back. So please join us there right now. Correct, Mark?
Yes, it's not raining, so yes.
Mark, which direction should we go? Go out these?
You can go out that door or we can go out that side door right there.
All right. This back door right here. So we're headed there now for the unveiling. Please follow us and thank you.
Thank you for asking me properly. I appreciate it. I feel like every time I come open the door, I'm always getting, it don't matter what I'm doing, every time. I don't know.
Yeah, they don't have to.
Congratulations. I was waiting for your speech.
One more TV station, and we got her ready.
Greg. Dion. Dion.
They were ready, Janet. One more.
I'm supposed to leave.
We got one more TV station. Good. Got it. All right.
Will be coming down.
Sure. Count it down.
All right. 3, 2, 1. Thank you all so much for coming out. We also take pictures. Everybody hear me out there okay? Well, we moved that door now. Can you hear me outside? That's amazing. I can't hear myself. It's really good to be done. All right, how are you? All right, good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Yeah. Welcome. This is an exciting day for all of us here in Oldham County. Before we get going, I want to thank Kara Sanders and Andy Joy, Joe Lender, and some of the folks that helped us get this property ready for our celebration today. It's going to be a little soggy, but the Chamber of Commerce called in to pause the rain for this, and so they agreed to do that. So we're excited to be here. But good afternoon. My name is David Bazanis. I'm the president of Oldham Chamber and Economic Development, and I'm excited to be here to preside over what is a very special groundbreaking in this community as we welcome home a business that, while it wasn't located here, it essentially did start here. And so we are beyond excited to talk about the growth and investment that's happening, not just with this project, but in and around the county. And so to start, I thought I'd like to add a little bit of context. This site that we're standing on, right next to Commerce Parkway, was a road that was conceived back in the 1990s by a bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, handsome judge executive named John Black, who happens to be here. Right? He asked me to say handsome as part of that. But back in the 1990s, it was evident that this community was going to need to develop tax base to offset the growth from the residential housing that was flying up everywhere. And so those investments, Commerce Parkway, the interchange down the road,